Hi friend, David here from Learn Christmas Lighting. I hope you are well today. I wanted to just go ahead today and record a video about my receiver boxes that I use in my Christmas light show. And I thought I'd just do it quick and simple, just here in front of the camera, because I've had a number of people surprisingly ask me about my receiver boxes. Because I employ an approach in my show mostly where where all my receiver boxes around my yard are the same. I try to make them as the same as possible so that when I'm setting out my show, I can just go, oh, here's all my receiver boxes. I need one here, 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 and just lay them out. And so I just wanted to walk you through a really basic, simple, easy way to build them. And I've got two options. The first is the one I use. The second is an option that I just designed for a client that is a little bit easier, doesn't involve drilling, cutting, etc. But there's pros and cons. Also, if you're watching this, thanks for watching it, by the way, and you've been watching the channel, you're into Christmas lighting, this week when I'm posting this, I'm reopening Learn Christmas Lighting Academy. So head over, check it out. I'll have the link below as well as probably on the screen where you can get more info about the Academy. It's my complete A to Z guide to create your first show. We've just got a new action plan in there as well, diving a lot deeper into X lights and showing you how to really get the most out of your sequencing without spending a ton of time. And all of that is step-by-step instructions through video and with the instructions below it. And just really allows you to get up to speed, you know, from one perspective, have a complete how-to on creating your first Christmas light show. So check that out because it really helps the channel grow. It helps me be able to do more stuff like this, and it helps you make your show. So onto my box. This is a pretty standard Harbor Freight ammo box, as you can see here. I'm probably gonna look at the camera a lot. Oh, and it's all wet on the bottom. Yes, because of course it's wet outside. And this one's modified a hair, but the general gist is that if I open it up, on the inside, I've got mounted to a Walmart cutting board, a Meanwell power supply. It really kind of does, you know, you can use other ones, but the Meanwells are skinnier, so they fit better. I've also got in this one a Falcon receiver board that is on the remnant of the cutting board that I cut with a jigsaw. Okay. And then I also have a Falcon power distro board in here as well. Okay, now the power distro here is because this is near a matrix, and so I added that power distro board, which I know makes my box not universal, but it was before I added that this year. And so what are the pros and cons of this thing? You know, on the side here, we've got, when you're working with these ammo boxes, of course, to cram everything in and not have, you know, parts with circuits touching the metal parts of the power supply, I've got the receiver board of the Falcon and the power board both in there on their side, sideways towards the front and back. I've got the power distro or the power supply on the side, which means all of my connections are coming in on one side, the side where I so cleverly did not pull off the label well. Okay. So what connections do I have going into this thing? Pretty simple. I just drilled holes for the data coming in with one of these barrel cable glands that you can get many places. Then we've got 4 connectors for outputs to lights. Now note here, I recommend if you're starting with this, go with an X-Connect connector. That's this one, which isn't all that much different from other connectors in the industry. But, you know, I started my show, I used the DIY LED Express connector for my first few years. And it's a fine connector, but I can only get pixels from one place. And this year they were out of stock on stuff I wanted. So I made the plunge towards X-Connect, which for future proofing, it's just better to do because all the vendors carry it. And if they don't, they should. Because then you can get pixels anywhere. If it's last minute, whatever, you find who's got it in stock. They've probably got X-Connect and you're good to go. Okay, but even 2 years ago, even last year, I wasn't quite ready to make that guidance to say go X-Connect because it's still, even last year, wasn't 100% that it was going to be the standard moving forward, but I think we see that now. So it's really simple. Data in, you know, 4 network out, and then I did power in under the receiver board on the end here. And that's really it to this thing. It's just a simple way to make a Falcon receiver board with 4 outputs good to go. Now, what I like about this is if we do the math, and of course I'm doing this in my head, if I have my Meanwell power supply, actually I'll just pull up the Spiker Lights calculator because I like it so much. I'll show you this. I've got my Meanwell power supply. It's a 350 watt power supply. So say I go in here, I'm not using this the normal way. I go in here and I'm going to do 150 pixels, and I'm going to do that times 4 outputs. And so that's going to be 600. Okay. So my total amp load is now 6 for this entire box. So I'm way under what that power supply can do. I feel good about this. I could do a smaller power supply. I could also do a second, instead of doing the power distro board, I could do 2 receiver boards, have 8 outputs on one box. It just depends on your display. But the point is, and the point I try to get home with doing a receiver box from the Falcon controller with 1 receiver in it, is that it's a really simple way to templatize or to make things consistent in your show. And when you're building a show, if you make your controllers consistent, like you've got receiver boards and you've got a number of them, and you have them in the same type of enclosure, it just makes things so much darn easier. Okay, now let's talk about my client's design. So this year I have a client, somebody who reached out to me, was asking me to design a show for them. And they came later in the season than I would have liked, right? For somebody wanting to do a show, but they're not looking to do anything huge. So I said, okay. So when it came to building the receiver board boxes for them, I had to guide them on something that'd be easy to build because they don't have a lot of time and also in stock. So here's what I did. I went to Wired Watts, and there's different places to buy things. I like Wired Watts. I like a lot of other places. Nobody paid me anything to make this video except you guys, who I provide the education to, and the folks inside Learn Christmas Lighting Academy. Be sure to get info below on that. So what I'm doing for this client, just to keep it super simple, is a CG1500, okay? So a cable guard CG1500, one of those. And then from Wired Watts, they have a mounting plate right here, the 1500 mounting plate for Falcon and SAN devices. And the cool thing about this is I can literally have my client do this one super easy and stick it in their box. So you put the Meanwell 350 watt power supply, the receiver board. They wouldn't have that piece. That's a Falcon F4 controller, I believe. They wouldn't have that one. And just those two fits in the box, easy, plenty of breathing room. And the ease of the cable guard, the CG1500 type box, is that it has the holes in the bottom. I would show you mine, but it's outside on the front of my house. It has the holes in the bottom that'll allow you to pass the cables through. So you don't have to drill holes. You don't have to get cable glands. You don't have to mess with any of that stuff. And that's what I like about these. Of course, what I don't like about the CG1500 that the ammo box does benefit is the CG1500, you don't want to lay it on the ground. You want to have the cable outlets where those are facing downward to be guaranteed as waterproof. I mean, sure, I see people who lay them on the ground. I don't feel good about that, especially if you get snow. But even if you get water, I mean, sometimes a couple years ago, we had a lot of rain in December here in Nashville. And I'm sure if I had had that thing facing, flat instead of facing down vertically, we'd have problems. So it all depends on where you're mounting it, right? I mount mine on the railing of my front porch, so on the side of the house. So it gets wet, it gets snow if it snows in Nashville, but it sits upright, so you're not going to get water in those cable holes. If you're mounting it to the house, or you can put a post into the ground or something like that, then you're great. If you're not doing that, you probably want to do the ammo box method, because I have those and I just sit them on the ground, and then even if water pools around them, it stays waterproof. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this helped you. If it did, give this video a big thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe and check out Learn Christmas Lighting Academy down below if you're looking for help making an amazing Christmas light show. We'll see you guys there. Thanks.